Welcome back to Meg's Mysteries, My Many Lives. My name is Rianne. I'm a writer, and before my time is up, I want to share my story of my many lives. This will be my last book of this lifetime. My story starts in the 14th century Egypt, during the reign of King Tutankhamun. You all have heard of King Tut. I was the daughter of his best friend and advisor. My father, Larry, was brought up in the palace with the young king, and they did everything together. They were as close as brothers. Our family was treated with the greatest respect and honors. When the king married his half-sister, my father married my mother, who was her favorite servant, Akina. They had me the same time the king had his first child. Sadly, that child died. The king took an interest in me from the start. He called me his little princess, even though I had no royal blood in me, only the daughter of his best friend. Maybe because the loss of his child he took to me. I lived in the palace like a princess, and I would often visit him. On my third birthday, he presented me with a gift of one of his royal wild Egyptian cats from his own royal line. The line was treated like gods, and only a few can care for one. They never owned them, you owned them. I named her Ma, after the goddess Ma. I took Ma everywhere, and we grew up together. At the age of 10, I contracted a rare disease and had to be in bed all the time. But my faithful companion was always by my side. She grew into a beautiful cat, and now was about to have her first litter of pure royal kittens. I was so excited. I hope I can see them. I was getting sicker by the day. I knew they couldn't do anything to help me. At least I knew Ma and her kittens would all be taken care of because of the tie to the royal line. I had kept her next to my bed, and she gave birth to her first kitten. As it was coming into the world, our eyes met, and then I died, and my soul went into the kitten. I still don't understand how or why. Maybe because of me dying at a young age, or was it a mystical thing? But now I was reborn into the royal cat of Egypt. But I still had all my human memories. Somehow my family knew what happened, and that I was reborn. I had an odd birthmark on my arm, an infinity sign. The kitten also had the same mark on its arm. I know you may think I'm strange, but that's what happened. Ma and her kittens lived a long and royal life, and all the descendants of the kittens had the mark on their arms. And my spirit lived on through many generations, the infinity sign, and still to this day. In 1922, King Tut's tomb was discovered by Howard Carter, a British archaeologist. You all know that story. But you never heard of Robert Gaines, another archaeologist. He discovered another unknown tomb, and it was my family's tomb. The mummies of my parents and myself, and of course some of the royal cats' mummified bodies. The hieroglyphics showed us with King Tut and a picture of our lives together, our history living with the boy king. Some of the artifacts and a little gold statue of me and Ma. Some treasures, but nothing like King Tut's tomb. We were still buried with royalty. Robert Gaines was not intending to take his discovery out of Egypt. He gave it back to the people and the government of Egypt. A friend and another archaeologist, an Egyptian named Horus, was so grateful. He knew the family that was in care of the royal cat line of Ma. Yes, they're still flourishing even today. He gave a kitten to Robert as a gift from the Egyptian government, as a thank you for returning what was truly theirs, part of their history. So the little kitten with the birthmark, like mine, the infinity sign, went back to England with him. to our new life in another part of the world. When Robert got back to England, he gave the kitten, really it was me, to his favorite niece, Amelia. I was named Ray, again, in honor of the little princess. Horace told Robert her story. He thought it proper way to honor her, so he named her after me. Well, now Amelia, she grew into a beautiful young English lady and was about to marry an American businessman. And they were going to move to the USA. And yes, Ray the cat was going with her. That's how I wound up in the States. Amelia got married and we lived a grand life. I was getting up in years, about 18 years old, and that's old for a cat. Amelia was having her first child, and I hope I can last to see her first child born. As time grew near, I stayed close to her all the time, day and night. Then that day came and I snuck into the room to be near her. When she had her baby girl, I died. That was okay, because my spirit went into the baby girl. She's called Rihanna. She named her after me. She noticed the same birthmark on the baby's arm, the infinity sign, just like mine. So I lived again. Now back to human form. Rihanna grew up to be a beautiful woman like her mother. But these days were modern times, still 1920s. She moved away like most young girls did at this time, moved into an apartment with her girlfriends. Now they lived the life of a flapper. Her family was not pleased with her choice, but they couldn't stop her. 20 years old and doing her own thing, she partied and lived a wild life. But her life was cut short due to alcohol poisoning from bathtub gin. Her friends rushed her to the hospital, but she died the exact moment a baby girl was born. Yes, I was born again. I don't know how we connected to the baby, but my soul found its way into a new home again. This baby was named Ariana. She grew up to be an army nurse in the 1940s and served in the war world too. She lived a good life and married, had kids, but at the age of 20, she died on childbirth. We were reincarnated into her baby girl, and we were named after her mother. At the age of 60, Ariana, the daughter, died in a natural death, but her soul found a way to another body. Yes, another little girl, and we were reborn again to Rihanna. In 1970, Rihanna was a model, and she became friends with a well-known model, Twiggy. They both worked for Vogue. They both worked and played in the life of the 70s, the time of the parties and fast life. Sadly, at 18, when she was at the top of her game, she was coming home from a party that she was at all night. She was crossing the street to her apartment, and she got hit by a car. Rushed to the hospital, and yes, she died, and I was reborn again into a baby girl named Renee. Guess who had the same birthmark? The infinity sign. Renee grew up in New York's famous bohemian lifestyle in Greenwich Village. As an artist, she painted and she became famous for her modern painting and sculptures. She opened up her own gallery, and her most famous sculpture was a statue of an Egyptian cat named Moa. I thought that was a great touch. She lived a long and happy life. She had children, and she was quite famous. When she died at the age of 69, this was our longest life. We were reborn again into another baby girl. She grew up to be an art history teacher named Renan, who loved life and teaching. She lived along with her many cats. I guess she just loved them. She lived to retire with her cats and her many books. She was the happiest of us all so far. But everyone must die at some point. Well, not really. She lived to be 70. Well, now reborn again and Ray again. My story so far. And I'm writing this final book. I'm sitting at my desk, and this is the last chapter over my many lives. There's a knock on the door. Oh, it's Nurse Rachel with my medicine. I didn't tell you I was in the hospital. Yeah, they're checking me out. Sometimes I act a little crazy. Maybe because of my many lives. Nurse Rachel gives me my meds, but I don't tell her I've been saving up my supply for a later date. I'm almost finished with my book, and then I'll see if this reincarnation really works. Maybe if I come back, I'll write a special sequel to the book. Or maybe not. It must just be my imagination, maybe? That I lived all these lives? All these past lives? I don't know. We will see. Hope it's not the end of my story. Bye for now. Ray.